Well, howdy folks, it's that time again to do another DVD and Blu Ray update. Of course, quite a stack this time around. Been spending some hard-earned money, but hey, let's move the shoes out of the way, let's roll the intro, and we'll get right into the stash. We'll start right here, and there's quite a few DVDs in here, and there's some Blu-rays, so there's a little mix and match of everything. So first off, we have the sequel to one of the funniest movies ever made, Airplane 2, the sequel. And of course, in this film, they go into outer space, and unfortunately, the Zucker brothers didn't return for this. They hired a guy by the name of Ken Finkelman to direct it, but the way they have it listed here is that all the cast directed this movie, plus this guy named Ken Finkelman. But yeah, it's just basically this is a rehash of the first Airplane movie. However, instead of Robert Stack, you have William Shatner. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, big one. Instead of taking an ordinary plane into travel from to and from, they are going into outer space. So, yeah, Airplane 2, the sequel. Next up is a Blu-ray. I believe I got this at Walmart. Yes, I got this at Walmart. And it is, I don't think it's an anniversary. It's not an anniversary edition. It is the Blu-ray of George Lucas's American Graffiti. Back when George Lucas was actually a filmmaker instead of worrying about Star Wars all the time. This was the film that he made before Star Wars, and this was the film that kind of got him some popularity, even though it did. I don't think it did as well as what he had hoped at the time. He regards American Graffiti as a failure, even though it became this cultural icon thing. Yeah, it's a Blu Ray DVD combo pack, and they're in the form of records. So yeah, this film starred Richard Dreyfuss, Ronnie Howard, Paula Matt, Charlie Martin Smith, Kenny Clark, Mackenzie Phillips, Cindy Williams, Wolfman Jack. So yeah. Next up, I have been not dying, but I've been trying to find the Blu-ray edition to this movie, which they do have, but dang it, every time I see a Blu-ray edition of this title, I see the remake, and I don't want the remake. Fortunately, I was able to find a full screen DVD of Arthur, because I really wanted to see Arthur, the original Arthur with Dudley Moore and Liza Minnelli and John Gielgud. Yeah, but every time I wanted to look for a copy of Arthur, I was getting the Russell Brand, Helen Mirren thing, and I'm like, no, forget that. I'm not going to watch that. I want to watch the original. Originals are better. Next up, out of the Best Buy dump bin, yes, Best Buy has a $7.99 dump bin. I found Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy. So yeah, and this is the first one. So yeah, and it's just standard Paramount Blu-ray. Next up, this one was also in the Best Buy dump bin. It's a classic movie from the late 1970s, actually 1979 was when this came out. Drew a lot of controversy at the time. and I think that's why Columbia Pictures kind of put this on. They licensed this out to another company called Image Entertainment. It's the China Syndrome. Of course, this film stars Jack Lemmon, Jane Fonda, and Michael Douglas. Interesting thing about this, for those of you who don't know about the China Syndrome, this movie was completely fictional. It was like a worst what would happen if situation. It was a disaster movie, obviously, but it was a situation like what would happen if like a nuclear power plant reactor had begun to melt. Well, the reason why the movie came under controversy is that they blamed, because there actually was a nuclear reactor for a power plant right when the film was playing that had begun to melt, but everything was taken care of, but the public, the news media made it more controversial than what it really was. But yeah, they were taking things from this movie and putting it towards, you know, what actually happened and at the real thing. But when none of it happened, and this was a completely fictionalized film that they just wanted a movie that they just wanted to make, and it had nothing to do with, you know, predicting what would happen. It was just a movie that they really wanted to make. Next up, or the next two, I'm going to put them both together because they're part of the DC animated series, DC Universe series of Batman movies. We have Son of Batman and the follow-up Batman vs. Robin. Yeah, I've been collecting a lot of these, the Batman, the Batman animated movies that they're now coming out with. Of course, they're really well done. They're of course getting new cast members, I believe, to play Batman, because I thought that at first that they were carrying on with like the Batman animated series with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, and turns out no, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to. It was the same team of people that's behind Batman the animated series, but they wanted to go in a different direction. They wanted to go more towards these graphic novels and just start from scratch. And so, yeah, you got Son of Batman, and then we got Batman versus Robin. So, yeah. And, of course, that's a story about Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul's child that they had together. So, it's both those movies go together. Okay. The next thing I have is a TV series. I just thought, you know, I'll start with season 1 because I've heard so many things about it. I do not have HBO, so that's why I'm just now catching on to this. So what I have here is Game of Thrones. Yes, very, very entertaining show. Of course, I started with season 1. And of course, I enjoyed season 1 so much, I said, hey, I better get the original, get the others, because they're announcing that season 5 is currently airing. So eventually I will be getting season 5 when that comes out. I've already completed watching season 2. And there's season 3, which I'm currently on. I'm almost complete with that. I have 2 more episodes, and then I have 3 more episodes. I have 8, 9, and 10, and I will be done with season 3, but then I'll be starting on season 4. Please, no spoilers in the comment section if you tell me what goes on, because I kind of want to find out for myself. And Of course, if you yourself do not have HBO and are showing interest in this show, the first season 1 to get you started is now available on Blu-ray for $19.99, actually $19.78 or whatever it is at Walmart. It's below $20 or right at $20. So if you want to start out watching that show, it's very cheap on Blu-ray. If you do not have a Blu-ray player yet, in that case, what's your problem? Get a player. If you still have DVD, they put out season 1 on DVD for about $15. So yeah. Next up, I found this at a Meijer store, and I haven't seen it anywhere else. And of course, this is completely restored, mastered in 4K. And it's the Macaulay Culkin, Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis, Anna Chlumsky film, My Girl. Even though it does have a tragic ending to Macaulay Culkin there. Yeah, completely restored in the 4K, remastering on Blu-ray, and I think it's $10. It's not a really expensive Blu-ray, so yeah, My Girl. I don't think they have My Girl 2 out, but definitely you can find that one on a DVD somewhere, I'm sure. Next up is the Danny Boyle Academy Award winning film Slumdog Millionaire. And, you know, pretty much everyone knows what this one's about, so. Next up, I picked up the film This Is the End with who's all in this? Seth Rogen, James Franco, Jonah Hill, Jay Baruchel, Danny McBride, Craig Robertson, Michael Cera, and Emma Watson. And the funny thing about being this is a Seth Rogen movie, I would not have bought this. But some other friends were telling me, and they said, no, you gotta watch this movie. It's hilarious. They're all playing themselves, and that's what makes it even more funny, is that it's themselves, and the apocalypse happens. It's all of a sudden the apocalypse happens. Then there's the whole thing with heaven versus hell. There's, oh my gosh, it's a parody on post-apocalyptic movies and zombie movies, and there's a scene that's where Jonah Hill is possessed, and they treat it just like The Exorcist, and it's really, really stupid, and I was laughing the whole entire time, and it's just a funny movie. And of course the ending is hilarious. The ending is outrageously hilarious, and it's a Blu-ray DVD combo pack, but I've got a friend loaning the DVD right now, so funny movie. Moving along, I found this at Big Lots. Big Lots is now selling Blu-rays. They're selling them for $5 a piece. And I saw that because I got this at Meijer for around $10, okay? They had This Is the End, for $5, along with Wall Street, the original Oliver Stone, Michael Douglas flick. And just, classic. Everyone knows the famous line from this, and it says right on the cover, "Greed is good." So even though they made a crappy sequel with Shia LaBeouf, but there's the original. Next up, this one's going to be maybe a little tough to collect. but I think they have all 4 seasons out on DVD. It will never come to Blu-ray, so it's going to be DVD only because it was shot on videotape back in the 1970s and 80s. And unfortunately, videotape only goes up to 480p, which is DVD quality. I got the first season to WKRP in Cincinnati. Now, you may think, why would a guy like me want to watch a show like that? Because my degree was in broadcasting, okay? I went to school for broadcasting. I studied radio, I studied television. And, of course, when you're studying radio, one of my professors showed us several episodes from WKRP, and we thought it was the greatest show ever made. And, of course, season 1, one of the most famous episodes of this TV show was the turkey drop episode. And that is found on season 1. It's the classic episode where they send out the news guy, Les Nessman, going out to a remote location, and it's Thanksgiving. The station is giving away free turkeys, and they're live turkeys. They got right from a butcher shop, and of course, the whole crew listens to that. It just turns into utter chaos and things like that, and it's a funny show. Of course, this show was originally released by Mary Tyler Moore Productions, which is now defunct. However, 20th Century Fox picked up the rights to a lot of Mary Tyler Moore's productions. Unfortunately, 20th Century Fox tried to have a go at releasing the show by themselves. They were not finding any success. So along comes Shout Factory, and they, of course, they license the rights and start putting the show out on DVD. However, WKRP ran into some problems, of course, with syndication and the DVD rights. They had the rights to get the show, but the problem is that this show was based around a rock and roll radio station. So, and the music that they featured in the original broadcast airings of this show were actual actual rock and roll songs. However, it says, there's a disclaimer on the back. It says, WKRP in Cincinnati had a complicated history of music rights restrictions. To make this the most comprehensive DVD release possible, we have done our best to include every scene uncut and to license as much as original music as possible. Which means that they were not able to get the rights to every single song. While, of course, when you first saw the show on aired on TV, you heard everything, seen everything, but then when syndication came about, and then DVD, home video, whatever like that came along, they ran into some rights issues with the music that was featured. So we need to move right along because that one took up quite a lot of time. Let's see. Next up is season 5 of Little House on the Prairie. I don't know if I've shown this one before, but next month season 6 will be coming out. So yeah, collecting all the Little House on the Prairie Blu-rays. Next one, got a lot of talk about it. American Sniper finally came out. Glad to have this movie. I love this movie. I know some people on YouTube are trashing this movie. They didn't think it was the best movie of the year. I wholeheartedly disagree with you. I think it was, but I can see why some people do not like it. It's a very right-wing, pro-patriotic guns, gods, and glory movie. I mean, that's what it is. But it's the true story of a man who went to fight and die. Not die, but he died later. He did die, but he went and fought defending our country. And of course, I did a movie of the week on this, and I went on a rant. And I did not criticize anybody who was making fun of the... I did not criticize the film, saying that if you like this film or hate this film, that I don't think... If you don't... I'm trying to say, if you don't like this film, that doesn't mean you're not American, okay? That doesn't mean you're not patriotic. It doesn't mean you're this or that. What I was ranting about on that video was people being stupid. And it was primarily 3 people in their stupid comments that they did not have a right to say the things that they said. I mean, that just shows the amount of respect they have for our military. And out of Michael Moore, out of anybody else who went to bat for, for troops going over to Iraq and Afghanistan, he said something like that. But then, of course, I haven't read the book, so I just now got the book. So I'm looking forward to reading the book. And so it's in paperback form. And yeah, it tells, there's even pictures in here about with the real Chris Kyle and his wife. And yeah, I'll be looking forward to reading that. Trying to wrap this up as quickly as I can. Next up, I got this at Game Exchange. I'd seen this movie before. It's an okay sci-fi thriller. Of course, the more I watch this, or the longer I watch this, I think, a bunch of nerds came up with this because they like sci-fi, sci-fi thrillers, and so what else would you want than Species? Okay, involving a chick who's hot and a human alien hybrid. Next up, I got from the Walmart dump bin 12 Monkeys, Terry Gilliam flick. And I got from Meyer a film from Christopher Nolan I had not seen, even though it's been out for a while. The Prestige. This has Christian Bale, David Bowie, Michael Caine, of course, Hugh Jackman, and Scarlett Johansson. And got some DVDs here. We got double feature of Coming to America and Trading Places. I wanted these both on Blu Ray, but unfortunately FYE did not have some Blu Ray copies, but they have plenty of DVD copies. And so yeah, there's some Eddie Murphy action with Coming to America and Trading Places, both by the same director, John Landis. Next up, now this is what I was talking about in terms of my generation of Batman movies. Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. This was from the Batman animated series. With Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill doing the voices of Batman and the Joker. And yeah, this is if you're a Batman fan, I think this is one of the better animated movies. I mean, you set the stage. Sorry, finally ran out of space, but yeah, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, one of the best Batman. I would hold Batman, the animated, this animated film with the rest of the Batman movies. I think it's that good. We only have 3 more here. Fortunately, rambled on too long about WKRP. The 20th anniversary edition of Thelma and Louise, directed by Ridley Scott. This has Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis. Also has Harvey Keitel and Brad Pitt. So yeah. And next up, we have the legendary monster movie itself in the nice digibook form. King Kong. Yeah, the very famous RKO monster of them all. King Kong. Has Fay Wray, Robert Armstrong, Bruce Cabot. Yeah, produced by David O. Selznick, and of course, who was it? This also has a nice commentary by Ray Harryhausen and Ken Ralston, who is one of the leading visual effects supervisors at Sony Pictures Imageworks, but he got his start through Industrial Light and Magic. But this is one of the films they said they always look up to when they're ever doing visual effects, because this one set the standard of how visual effects are made in movies and how you make, you know, believable effects. And believe it or not, you know, this was believable at the time. You know, a lot of people that King Kong was actually real, and even though you look at it, you know, people this generation now will look at King Kong and go, hey, it's stop motion animation. Yeah, Willis O'Brien, I believe, was the man that came up with the stop motion technique, and then Ray Harryhausen perfected it himself. I'm trying to look here real quick here. See if I see. Yeah, Willis O'Brien. Willis O'Brien was the effects artist that came up with King Kong, and then of course later generations you would see guys like Ray Harryhausen. He did the same type of effects, but he took it a little bit further, than going all the way to, you know, say like Douglas Trumbull, working on 2001 Space Odyssey and Close Encounters, and then of course you had, you know, the team at Industrial Light and Magic perfecting stop motion there with, you know, several key people there, like Phil Tippett, Dennis Muren, Ken Ralston, and, you know, guys that, you know, knew how to make those types of movies and that enjoyed making them. And plus you had to say Richard Edlund, he was part of that crew too. Now, speaking of like some of those effects wizards and things like that, that brings us to the modern day stop motion animation, which is called motion capture. That would be, and this one's produced by Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis, Monster House. This was one that they had made part of when Robert Zemeckis was doing the motion capture movies. This one was one that he had produced, and he didn't direct it, but he produced it. This has the motion capture is provided by Steve Buscemi, Nick Cannon, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Kevin James, Jason Lee, Catherine O'Hara, Kathleen Turner, Fred Willard, and also you want to throw in John Heater. This was done by Sony Pictures Imageworks. It's a Sony Pictures release, and this is directed by Gil Kenan. For those of you going to the movies now, Gil Kenan has currently directed a remake of the 1980s Spielberg movie Poltergeist, which I probably will not be seeing at all. But yeah, this was the guy's attempt, one of his earlier attempts at directing Monster House and its motion capture. But hey, he got to work with Steven Spielberg on this, I guess. But yeah, I remember seeing trailers for this. I don't think it looked as impressive as, what, say, the Polar Express or Beowulf looked. Yeah, it's worth checking out. Yeah, Monster House. Hold on, just 1 minute. I forgot one. I also got this. It's the Harold and Kumar set along with Beer Fest. So, yeah, I enjoyed the first Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Then, of course, they came out with other movies. There's Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, and all these are unrated editions. And there's Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay. Then there's the very Harold and Kumar Christmas. And then there's Beer Fest. And of course, this is the 4 film favorites collection that Warner Brothers puts out with New Line Cinema releases. So there you go. And clumsy me, I forgot one more. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I promise you this is the last one. So there you go. So you can see that, yes, I'm sweating. Yeah, that's the haul. That's a lot. That's a lot. But hey, that's what bargain bins are for. So, from me to you, see you later.